Good morrow and welcome to the weekly AEW News Kick, your weekly dose of AEW action. I am not joined by Patrick. I am joined again by producer Jack Griffin. You've been introduced first today and no mean comments. Is it your birthday?
Not quite. That's all. Well, I mean, being my brother, you should know my birthday.
Must feel. You think I listen to that shit?
5 months' time, my birthday.
Why would I remember the day my life was ruined?
It's always nice when my brother's nice to me, and then he goes and ruins it by being like this. So.
And then I go
now I'm
and
just
spoil it all. We are also joined by. It's going to be a bumpy one. We're joined by our friend and professional family bathing cohabiter, Liam.
Hello, I hate hot tubs.
You hate hot tubs. It's just bathing with your family.
That's a bit
as we have established.
I was about to say that's a bit of context for any new listeners. If you've not gone back and listened to our archive, Liam last was on. Yeah, Liam last was on for the. I can't remember if it was a special, some sort of
Dynamite. It's a regular episode.
Yeah, it was just a regular episode. But Liam's quite an iconic character in our little podcast.
The lore,
now.
the WNK lore.
Yeah, so if you've not met Liam before and you want a bit of context to why he is such a controversial person to have on the podcast, check out Bathing with My Family, AEW Dynamite review by us. It's on Spotify.
It's the mild incest. That's why it's controversial.
Arguably one of my favourite episodes, though. Which
it was good stuff. That's why we've got him back. Damn the censors and the sponsors, of which we have none. How's everybody's week been?
Yeah, I've been sound. You know, just doing regular stuff. Pubs are back open, so I've been to the pub. Sunk a couple of bevies. It's been lovely.
Sunk a couple of bevies. Lovely. Lovely jubbly. Liam, how have you been? Since we last spoke, actually. It's been a while.
Yeah, I've been okay. Just been watching NXT and AEW and working and playing Football Manager and crying because I can't seem to take Burnley to the Champions League.
Completed it, mate. Took Crawley Town to the Champions League in 6 seasons. Was it Crawley?
No,
anyway,
Woking.
That's Woking. That's a reference not a lot of people outside of the UK will get. But yeah, no, I have also been watching a lot of wrestling. My life's kind of been revolving. Got a new fridge today, so that's my big news.
Mum told me, yeah.
Fridge freezer. It's a sign of how old you're getting when stuff like that excites you. I'm like, cool, I've got rooms for all my... Yeah, I mean, the freezer's nearly as big as the fridge, so I've got rooms for all my frozen meals.
Well,
save so much money.
Does it have one of them installed in it, the water thing? You know, when you... the ice machine.
Of course it fucking doesn't. This is England. What are you, fucking Billy Buffalo? It's fucking...
That's my lifelong dream, to own one of them fridge freezers that has one of them. I would have completed life if I get one of them.
Completed life. Got an ice cube tray.
Yeah, fuck that. You just need one of the ice machines.
You bougie motherfucker. Right, shall we launch into Dynamite?
Let's do it.
Starting off the show, we had Hangman Page versus Ricky Starks, a battle of two rising stars, in my opinion. Let's come to Liam. Guess first. What did you make of this match?
I thought it was a good TV match for what it was. I noticed that they played off the Starks' foot, quote-unquote, injury that he gained during the match, but...
I really like that. That's something that's, I think, is missing too much in modern American wrestling, is the kind of limb targeting and like telling a story about isolating an injury throughout a match. AEW are quite good with it, but other promotions not so much.
The thing that I don't say I didn't like about it, but I found a bit unusual, was that seems something that in traditional wrestling, even like the babyface would have the injury rather than the heel. So it seemed a bit weird to have the roles reversed and to have Starks try to not have the sympathy, but just do what in the past babyfaces would have something sympathetic. It just felt a bit weird seeing the roles reversed, but obviously added to the match, added to the drama, and although...
Added to the finish as well, because I don't know if this is going to be the start of a new submission finisher for Hangman, but it utilised quite a surprising finish. And I mean, it wasn't surprising that Hangman would win. I think that was a foregone conclusion, but the method of which, a submission victory was pretty nice, I think.
Yeah, I say it added to the match, and it made it a lot more interesting. Like you said, although the win was a foregone conclusion, it did help, and I like the spot at the end with the Dark Order coming out to save Hangman, but I wish they'd do more with it, because we know that they get on, but is this all it's going to be for weeks where one helps each other out, or is the storyline actually going to go anywhere?
Yeah, and I think his undefeated streak, while I don't think it necessarily put the result in any question, it added flavour to the match. Do you know what I mean? So it was. I thought it was a really, really good opener. I think it's probably the third best match of the night for me, which is, for an opener, is quite a strong start. Jack, how fare thee with this match?
Yeah, I enjoyed this match as well. I seem to always like. This reminds me of when I used to watch Britain's Got Talent, where you used to like the opener, but the opener would never be the one to win. So in this instance, I liked the opener, but it was never going to be match of night. But for what it was, to open the show, to break you into Dynamite for the week, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought I liked both of these for different reasons. I thought they worked well. I like to see this sort of, hopefully, fingers crossed, storyline kind of going somewhere. I agree with Liam where it kind of seems to be a bit like what's going to happen. Obviously, it seems like where they keep on mentioning Hangman being the point of this match is obviously Ricky Starks was number 2, one of number 3 in the rankings. Yeah, I think it was a rankings battle. I think I'm pretty sure he's number 2 actually. So it's kind of,
I think so, with that 12-match undefeated streak.
There you go. Yeah, so it was kind of battle for first ranking, and yeah, I don't know whether I know we say it all the time on the podcast, but Double or Nothing being the Hangman versus Kenny next rematch. I don't know if it's too soon, but I would look forward to it if it was. But yeah, in terms of match, good match, not too much to say, unless you're doing a play-by-play, but from my point of view, solid opener.
You know I am, but just to comment first about Double or Nothing, I can see them putting Kenny against someone else for Double or Nothing, especially with the fallout. I think they seem to be. I think the build-up for the world title match at Double or Nothing will be fairly late on in the run-up to Double or Nothing, because I think they're saving that for after Rebellion. Do you know what I mean? Because Kenny Omega might not even be. I mean, he will, but he might not even be the AEW champion after Rebellion. So they're sowing those seeds of doubt, which is good. It's the way to do it. If they do insert Hangman into that match and not Pac or whoever, as I've heard batted about, I think it would be good to have Hangman lose again, and then have him have to further embrace the friendship of the Dark Order, which he's still sort of on the periphery with. Do you know what I mean? And friendship is the key, to his dreams. I will just give you a quick play-by-play. That's what people tune in for. So, started out with Ricky Starks saying he thrives under pressure like a diamond in a little promo as he entered. The match started, Ricky went around the waist as the two locked up, but Hangman got the advantage after some chain wrestling. Starks went for the crossbody, but gets slammed down by Hangman, who gains some advantage. Hangman misses with a clothesline off the second rope, but follows up with a slingshot crossbody to the outside. Hits a nice fall-away pump handle slam, Hangman that is. The momentum kind of shifted to Ricky after he drives a running page into the second rope. We're reminded of Ricky Starks' winning streak at this point, and Taz is on commentary concerned about Starks grabbing his leg, which was a nice touch because obviously it was exposition for the match finish. Hangman hit another fall-away slam, a different variation, followed by a brainbuster. I mean, this was brainbuster city, this Dynamite, I think. Ricky Starks evaded the slide and lariat. Hangman tried to get him up for the Deadeye off the turnbuckle, but Ricky reversed it into a sit-out powerbomb. The two went up to the top rope, but Hangman hit the avalanche fall-away slam, his third fall-away slam variation of the night, to be honest. I think he went to that well a little too much, but the variations were nice. Ricky kicked out of a strong lariat from Hangman, and Hangman attempted the buckshot. There was back and forth reversals until Hangman hit a headlock takedown into a potential new submission, as we spoke about, taking advantage of the ankle injury from earlier, which I thought was great storytelling. Taz gets up after the match, tells Paige that he needs to watch his back, literally, and then our Lord and Savior Hook attacked Paige from behind, and then Cage came out and made it a 3-on-1 because Paige was looking like he could battle back a little bit, but then the Dark Order came out to make the save, so they are still... He has friends in dark places, as the T-shirt says, and commentary keeps reminding us. Thoughts on the stuff after the match, and kind of, I mean, where does this go? Is he in the Dark Order? Is he not in the Dark Order? There's been no kind of official confirmation. He's just still kind of Dark Order adjacent, I suppose, which is kind of what they did with Colt Cabana. And then just one day they were like, oh yeah, he's in the Dark Order, with like no fanfare.
Has this Brian Cage Team Taz rift stopped now? Because he come out to help Ricky Starks and Hook, like there was no, you know, like I don't want to say feud, but tension. Like it's just like it's all been water under the bridge and they're on good terms now. Like there was no hesitation or anything like that. So I don't know whether that's been dropped or whatever.
I don't think it'll be dropped. I think it will just be another example of one of AEW's big flaws in that they just don't acknowledge things for weeks and then come back to it. They do more often than not come back to it. It's just they'll just not acknowledge storylines for weeks on end. Whereas, you know, I like to kind of... I honestly think the good parts of the Attitude Era, I know we compare stuff to it a lot, but I think the good parts of it were all about hitting the story notes every week. Do you know what I mean? You had that Stone Cold update every week. You had the updates of the storylines every single week. Whereas AEW, they kind of, you know, forget about stuff for too long, and I think that's where they're lacking in the storyline department. But you know, I do think they'll come back to that for sure. Next up, we had the Elite arriving, and they are referring to them as the Elite, despite the fact it's all of them. Not much to say about that, so I'll move swiftly on. However, I do think it's interesting that they are referring to the 5 of them, including Gallows and Anderson, as the Elite. The next match, however, was Penta El Zero M, should I say, versus Trent. Jack, thoughts on this? Well, first off, before you launch into it, thoughts on Penta's new music, because he came out to new music, didn't he? And speaking of music, Trent came out to Best Friends OG music rather than Orange Cassidy's music, which they had Chris Statlander coming out to, which was, it's kind of confusing, isn't it? But yeah, thoughts on the entrance music choices and then the match itself.
Yeah, I for one was happy to hear the Best Friends theme come back instead of just using Where Is My Mind by Pixies, OC's, and apparently Chris Statlander's music now.
Odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it is odd, but it's nice to, because they do have a good theme. They know fans like that theme. Like the amount of times me and you go to each other like bow, chicka, bow, chicka, bow, chicka, best friends. Like,
well, Chris Statlander specifically, sorry to cut you off, Chris Statlander's music on the Indies was E.T. by Katy Perry, and if they're getting licensed music now, I mean, that was always a banger for her, and it kind of fit her character quite well, obviously. So I don't know if that's a potential avenue. But yeah, continue with the point.
Yeah, music's definitely an interesting choice of wrestling. I like to, if I'm honest, I do like them mixing it up. I don't mind it, to be fair. I like the new Penta music as well. I think that's quite cool. Yeah, because obviously usually comes out of Lucha Bros theme. Or the Death Triangles one. It's nice that he has his own individual one, because he seems to be doing more single stuff,
which is odd because he seems like he's got a solo storyline, but he's referencing Death Triangle. Don't mess with Death Triangle. All this stuff, like they mentioned that in it's just, I don't know, that rift is very bizarre to me. I have to assume some of these weird choices and riffs have to be about people's availability during COVID, because they were taping blocks of episodes at once, and if they're returning to live every week, we might see a bit more consistency. But I'm assuming that plays some sort of factor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good take, to be fair. But this one was live. Yeah, so yeah.
But I'm saying maybe
I know what you mean. Yeah, but
Pac weren't there. Do you know? Yeah. And they couldn't be there or something. You know.
Yeah,
so
definitely
maybe they've got to wrap it up.
It's a good take to have, which obviously not many people really realise, and maybe that's something we'll see as well, even when they go back, because you know one of the best things the rest to say about working for AEW is the flexibility working. And that seems to be something they've definitely accommodated due to COVID. So it's kind of a nice take. But on the match in general, one of the obviously, again, you'll do a play-by-play, and then you'll come to Liam on his thoughts. So I'm just going to go for one.
Do you guys fucking hate my play-by-play? Sounds really sounds really passive-aggressive when you're like, of course,
no,
you'll do a play-by-play.
No, but you do it so well, so there's no point me trying to butcher something that happened in the match. But anyway,
give it a go.
No, what I wanted to say was
petulant child. No,
but Alex Abrahantes. That's what I wanted to talk about because he seems like he's want to make a wish. Like something like he just seems like his make-a-wish is be like, can I be Penta's manager? He seems to absolutely be relishing this opportunity. Seems like he doesn't. Well, no, he doesn't fit. But he does. I mean,
I think he's a natural heel.
I just find it hilarious, like just him there, and he seemed to be like a hype man for Penta when he came out and stuff. Just every part of Alex Abrahantes for this match just. I found hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing. I like him though. Like,
yeah, I do like. But while
I
I think he's a natural heel, I do think, and I've got some big criticisms partially involving him about this match. I do think AEW are beating it to death a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they are. But I like it because he's been used a bit more than he was. It's always nice that they do that. They accommodate clearly, and it's nice that Penta can now give these promos. Instead of having to try and have that kind of he doesn't give many promos because obviously speaking different language, it's nice he comes out of it. And
maybe they're just. I mean, Geordie was never the best choice to translate to English. You'd have to have a translator for his translator. Do you know what I mean?
It's true. True.
Spanish to Geordie and Geordie to English.
But no, that's the big take I wanted to say. Just I wanted to, Alex Abrahantes' appreciation from me. I think I thoroughly enjoyed watching him throughout this match, and he wasn't even in the match. He was on the side. Well, he got involved, obviously, during it. When you do the play-by-play, you'll mention it. But Alex Abrahantes' appreciation, that's what I want to say.
I'll do the play-by-play now and get that out of the way before we come to...
Oh, do you have to? I'm joking.
You got a problem? I'll take this outside. Because I do have some criticisms of this match, actually. And as I said before, so if I do the play-by-play and then say them, then Liam can... respond or give a rebuttal if he disagrees. But yeah. So first off, I like that they're announcing Trent is getting announced as Trent. And you notice Excalibur was doing it every time he said it as well. Just the slightest accent of a question mark. It was brilliant. Trent got the up hand early on with a kind of meteora. They called it like a double high knee, but I think it was technically a meteora, followed by a backdrop. Penta escaped the ring and evaded Trent's first tope, but not the second, which I liked. He did that a couple of times during the match. That was one of the positives for me, where you saw him going for moves, failing, and then trying them again later, and it wasn't like there was a botch and then a recovery. It was like storytelling. Trent? I'm not going to do that every time, actually. Trent was going hard, but then he gets put down by the sling blade. They get into a strike fest, and Trent hit the swinging DDT on his second attempt. Again, that was him going for something earlier, not getting it, and then going to it again. Penta kind of killed his flurry, though, with a massive Canadian Destroyer, and I was a big fan of them actually selling the damage of the Canadian Destroyer, because it's just become a move that's part of every wrestler's repertoire, and people selling the Canadian Destroyer like a fucking weak clothesline just gets my goat. So I like that it was the move, the desperation move he went to kind of stop this offense from Trent and put them both down for a while. Slowed down as it does during the ad break. I have a big criticism. I'm going to come back to it, but it's something about JR. What JR did during the ad break was unforgivable for me. But I'm going to go full Jim Cornette in a minute. We'll come back to it. We had a nice running knee from Trent, backstabber from Penta. Tony Shivani said something else as well, which was, I've got a big problem with the commentary. That's my main problem. It was non-wrestling elements that ruined this for me. But we'll come to that again at the end. But Penta went for the apron package pile driver. It was reversed, and he got a taste of his own medicine as Trent hit the pile driver on the side, and then a spear outside the ring. Penta, the whole Penta says thing during the match came up. Alex Abrahantes, as you say, got on the mic. This was my third problem with this match. And yeah, I think that was pretty much it, wasn't it? It was he distracted him, and Penta got the
I think Orange Cassidy got involved, and then Penta ended up, because of this, taking advantage of the distraction, getting the package pile drive for the win, I believe. But yeah, my problems with this match. Firstly, I feel like Penta was going through the motions a little bit. He's very, very good, even when he's just, not giving his all to a match. He's great. That's the thing. But you can tell, and I think Trent was going at a bit of a tempo that Penta wasn't willing to meet him at for whatever reason. And you could see Trent was just coming straight out the blocks trying to prove himself with his first match back. But it was very promising what I saw from Trent. He's clearly 100%. So, but that's a minor criticism. My main criticism, as I say, with the non-wrestling elements. Firstly, JR. Okay, my big first problem with the commentary was JR breaking kayfabe during the ad break for the international audience, and Penta chopped the ring post because Trent moved out of the way, and JR says the post no-sold him, which was just, it's like, obviously that's an insider term, and like, I don't know, I just don't expect that from JR. And like I said, I'm no cornet, do you know what I mean, about this stuff? But I think this went a bit beyond AEW's usual wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Tony Schiavone had a bit of kind of more forgivable commentary issue where he was surprised that Penta was going for the package pile driver on the apron, when we've seen him at least attempt this move at least half a dozen times now. So I can't really buy that. Tony's like, what was he going for that? Like, of course he fucking was. He was. Shut up. And lastly, the Penta says thing during the match felt incredibly shoehorned. And if you notice, during the break, Alex Abrahantes opened his hoodie to reveal the shirt, the Penta says shirt. And this at the end of the match just felt like just a nothing segment to try and insert his catchphrase into the match and try and, because it's become a meme, and like, yeah, because he didn't even have anything good to say. It was like, Penta says, because he told me before the match that blah blah blah, and it was just cheap heat and your mama. Like, come on, I felt like it was, yeah, dumb cheap heat to try and shoehorn in his catchphrase. Yeah, not my match of the night by a long shot. Liam, your response. Sorry for rambling on a little bit.
I need to apologise. You basically said everything that I was going to say anyway, to be honest. I thought that as you said, the your mum thing was very, I don't want to say un-AEW-like, but it's not something I'd normally expect from them. Or I'd normally, if they were going to do it, I thought like they'd maybe go a different route, or maybe have him say something about a member of the Best Friends, but to have him say, oh yeah, your mum this, it has felt like being back in the school playground. And
but with how lazy it was, it was just like I said, that makes me feel like it was just to get his catchphrase in.
Yeah. And the other thing as well, which isn't related to the match or anything in the slightest, and I know I've seen this a lot on the internet, and I think it was mentioned amongst ourselves in a previous podcast, it's weird to see Penta as a heel, whereas he's aligned with Death Triangle, who Pac and Phoenix are both currently faces. So it's like, are they a face group or are they a heel group? Because it just feels weird having a heel being the same quote-unquote faction, which 3 people, so I don't know whether that's actually a faction, but have like 2 faces and a heel in the same group, if that makes sense. It just doesn't work out.
Without explanation either, without any like backstage segments between Death Triangle,
yeah, exactly,
with them being like, what are you playing at? Do you know what I mean? Although, I think the problem with that is I don't think Pac would really have that much of a problem with it. He gives me, I mean, they, like you say, they are kind of facing all their rivalries, but I do get tweener vibes from them where he's just like, I don't give a fuck, I'm just going to go beat people up. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, and obviously Phoenix doesn't really have a mouthpiece aside from Alex Abrahantes to be able to have a kind of confrontation in English with his brother. But alas, yeah, It was a swing and a miss, this match, for me, to be honest, even though there was some very fun spots, and even though both men are clearly talented, it just didn't really come together. Next up, we had JR talking to The Pinnacle backstage. MJF says that Jericho might be right about the scarf thing, about,
it's old and tried, and so because he said as it's old and haggard, kind of alluding to the fact that Jericho's old and haggard, and that Tully's bought him a new silk scarf. I like that JR was like, oh yeah, it's nice, and he was like feeling it. Wardlow got a chance to talk, which I noticed a theme going on here because they gave Jake Hager some mic time as well later on in the response. So the big men were kind of getting their turn on the mic. Wardlow was mentioning how. Okay, so first off, I wasn't a big fan of the meta talk during the promo, like them actually acknowledging promos, and it was a good promo game and complimenting them on a good promo. Again, this is one of my big problems with AEW, but it's kind of, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a Jim Cornette about it, but this is kind of a wanton disregard of kayfabe for me, to be honest, and it's detrimental to the product. Anyway, Wardlow mentions how as soon as Jericho said, the moment he said Wardlow came out of his mouth, he knew he was doing something wrong by criticizing him. I quite like that, to be honest. I quite liked. I rate Wardlow as it is, so more of him can only be a good thing because I think he's been underutilized after what we saw of him in the Eliminator tournament. He says MJF, sorry, not Wardlow, says that Jericho has been, this was a really kind of brutal, scathing factoid, I think. He said that Jericho's been latching on to wrestlers that people already want to see and then acting like he's given them the Magic Jericho rub. And I was like, phew, that is a hot take, MJF. And mentioned that MJF is the one guy who couldn't hold under his thumb. And then he got very passionate, his promo towards the end. Obviously, they're trying to one-up each other, which I'm not sure if Jericho one-upped not sure if MJF one-upped Jericho's promo from last week, but Jericho definitely didn't one-up this promo later in the night. We'll talk about this. Jack, thoughts on this promo with MJF and the Pinnacle?
Yeah, you mentioned all the best bits, so...
I've got to stop doing that, haven't I? I'll come to you first next time.
Yeah, no, I did enjoy this promo. I always enjoy MJF promos, and I like that he kind of dished it out a bit with Wardlow getting a take as well. And obviously, FTR and Sean Spears stayed quiet. And I think, I saw one little mistake I think MJF made, and I don't know whether it was just me kind of reading what he did, but he obviously last week Tyson punched Cash Wheeler, didn't he, in the stomach. It's round the face. So he knocked Cash Wheeler out anyway with a punch. And
knocked his teeth down his throat, as Jericho says later on.
And as MJF acknowledged this in the interview with the Pinnacle, he looked at Sean Spears instead. Now, I don't know whether it's because they were just sat like near each other, but it looked like he was more looking at Sean Spears. I took that. I was like, was there a misplacement here where people were meant to be sat? Like, what's that? Anyway, that's just one little criticism I noticed, but maybe it was just me reading it wrong. But overall, really good promo. Like I said, always enjoy MJF promos, and I thought there was some, as you said, some hot takes. I like when it gets personal and you're like, ooh, like that, and it's semi-true, let's be honest.
It's more than semi-true. Yeah. I mean, like I said, these are people that they were already over when Jericho got into programs with them. Do you know what I mean? It's scathing attack from MJF. Yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, and MJF as we all know, every promo he does is just incredible, and yeah, it's nice. It kind of feels like a tennis match of back and forths with promos and insults, but I'm here for it.
Well, it's almost May now, and we're starting to get a feel for who's the best of the year, who might turn out to be the best of the year in each kind of category, if you will. And I mean, for last year, we at the beginning of our show, when we first started the podcast, we rated Eddie Kingston the best talker for 2020, which I think he was. But I think not Eddie's fault because he's not been as prevalent on the screen, but because he was involved in a championship promo last year at the end of last year. But I think despite Jericho having the best promo of the year so far, one of the best promos I've seen in a long, long time. Last week, I think MJF is still more consistent, and for me, is kind of leading that pile as kind of talker of the year, as he should be, because quality or whatever form is temporary, quality is permanent. Next up, we had Hikaru Shida versus Tay Conti for the women's world title. I'm going to refrain from giving too much from my opinion yet, so I don't take all the don't hog all the hot takes. I will just say enormous fight feel on this one, wasn't there, Liam?
Yeah, there was a lot of build to it. I was genuinely really excited to watch this match because Tay's had a very good showing for the last few months, and she's improved a lot in the last 6 or 7 months or however long it's been with AEW.
Well, can I get... I see a lot of people say that she's really improved from her days in NXT, and you go on Cage Match, and her rating when she first arrived in NXT, or the first year that she was eligible for being voted on, is like a 3 or a 4 out of 10, and yet she's worked her way up. Was she that green or that sloppy in NXT? Because obviously I'm not that familiar with her work in NXT, but I'm assuming you are.
Well, from what I can remember, I think it was a mix of A, her being green, coming from a different background, and B, most of the time she was jobbed out in matches, which obviously you can't really get a good rating if you're just getting power slammed by Nia Jax and getting a free count within a minute of the match starting. So I think because she got jobbed out most of the time, it didn't really help her case to actually put on a good showing. I didn't really invest much time in her.
I feel like they've missed a massive trick with Tay Conti because, like, obviously she is now improving and she's got that judo background, which is something you'd think WWE would love. Do you know what I mean? A real fight background. And, I mean, she's got the look. Let's say that. She looks like a star. I mean, being attractive never hurts, and I'll say that for anyone, male or female, including Wardlow. Do you know what I mean? He looks like something Vince sculpts in his wettest dreams. I don't know how he never snapped him up, but... she's a star, and I thought this was potentially the time for her to snap it up. What were your thoughts on the match itself?
I thought the match itself, it was a solid TV match. It was definitely as good as what I expected, and I know that both women are capable of very good matches when they have the time and when things go right for them. I was a fan of the finish. It looked pretty brutal as well, which obviously always helps sell the actual finish of a match, is when the move actually looks like it hurts, rather than just being something like a rock bottom or something like a 5-knuckle shuffle, which doesn't look like it actually does that much damage.
I can't believe they never changed that name, 5-knuckle shuffle, when they went to the PG era. I swear, like, the censors that were in charge of that really just didn't get the joke, so they were just like, oh, don't tell them, 5-knuckle shuffle.
Well, that's the thing about it. Obviously, the AA used to be called the FU, and obviously that got changed, but the 5-knuckle shuffle never did.
Yeah, the STFU, and then they're like, but somehow the 5-knuckle shuffle slipped through. It's like, I just don't think they got the joke. It's hilarious. All right, I'll give you a play-by-play, and then I'll come to Jack. So... we started off with a beautiful judo throw from Tay, followed up by 2 big knees to the jaw, a 2 count, a Fujiwara armbar attempt, some great fast wrestling, some judo-inspired wrestling. Shida rolls out and Conti locks in a waist lock, but Shida gets to the rope. Shida gets a running knee on the outside, rams Tay into the barrier and goes for a second. Tay ends up eating an enziguri. Shida hits a brainbuster on the outside. Back in the ring, Shida hits a bow and arrow. That lovely stretch submission before a fucking amazing transition to a chin lock, I must say. And this is when you started noticing Shida wrestling a bit brutal. And suspicions were confirmed as the match wore on that she was working heel. And she's selling herself as heel, which could have been for the Conti win, but is more potentially, unless she has a full heel turn now, which I don't see happening. I think it was probably more, because especially with what happened after the match, but I think the heel work was kind of to sow doubt in the kind of further doubt in the minds of kind of the smarky crowd, who know if you're turning heel during a match, you might be setting up for the big pop, for the putting over the other person. So I think that was a bit of kind of clever scripting, having Shida wrestle heel. Tay Conti tries to fight back with elbow strikes, but gets put back down again and eats a boot. She gets hung up on the second rope, and then gets a superplexed before. This was great stuff, actually. So Shida's hit the superplex, and then when used right, okay, so I don't like Superman Cena moments, if you will, but when used right, that energy burst in a moment of desperation, I just fucking love. I pop for that. It's really explosive wrestling, and that's what we saw from Tay here. She ate the superplex and then just kind of rolled through and hit the super kick and then collapsed, and that got me to pop. Quite just a little moment that got me excited. A sequence of throws from Tay ending with a German suplex that was very nice. She's putting the pressure on at this point and hits a great senton to Shida across the top rope. She lays Shida across the top rope, hits a senton on her. Tay runs into a jumping knee from Shida though, and Shida hits the Falcon Arrow, but Tay kicks out to a big pop. And Shida's looking for a finisher for the knee, but instead she ends up putting Conti on the top turnbuckle. Conti fights back but gets picked up and dropped on the top, which is called the Witch's Shot, apparently. They called during this match. First time I've heard it called that, a move from Shida, but there you go. I think it was Tay Conti hit a punt kick, I think, but then that was a setup for a Tay KO. But I find it so hard to pronounce her moves. Shida kicked out. She goes for the DDT, but Shida reverses it and drops her on her head for a 2. We get into a strike fest. Shida hits a backbreaker and then gets her with the knee, and it is game over. After which, Britt Baker comes out, puts up the screen with the number 1 contender being Tay Conti, and with that loss, Britt Baker has now surpassed her and is the number 1 contender. Jack, thoughts on your end? God, I just about made it through that.
So many mixed emotions for me during this match. Literally any emotion you could feel. It was a perfect match, and I thought it was incredible. I knew it would be. All the build-up with Tay over the last couple of months, just been building to this, and she deserved it. She deserved a title shot. I was so hyped for her to win it based on your takes from last week. I was like, it's her time. I'm ready. It
is her time. I still stand by that. It's her time. I think she's just getting overlooked a little bit.
But I think there's loads of girls in that division which is their time, and that's the kind of, see, they've only got one belt. It's kind of hard, but that's where when the match finished and Tay obviously didn't win, I felt a bit gutted. I kind of was like, how long are they going to keep it on Shida? And then Britt comes out.
Not much longer.
Yeah, and then Britt came out. I was like, it's over. It's fucking over. Double or nothing. Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida. Britt Baker's taking it. I'm like, I'd put money on it because.
Of course she is.
Because obviously we knew a Britt Baker kind of title match was coming, but I love the no words. I love she comes out, points to the screen. Number 1, Hikaru Shida then just throws her kendo stick in like anger. Britt Baker kind of like dodges it and then just walks out and just like, see you later. And I just love that, and I'm now excited for the month build up we're going to have with that feud, because Britt Baker's title worthy. It's going to happen, and I think it'd be nice then when Britt Baker is champ to then have like someone like a Ty or an Anna Jay when she comes back from injury. Probably obviously won't be that time, but then a face come in and kind of have Britt Baker have a long feud, but have it kind of feel like, yes, like Britt Baker kind of as women's champ kind of, what's the, you know what am I trying to say? Basically have like the leader, I say, right, I'm going to get political here, but say like a Donald Trump, and then when he finally goes, you feel that kind of elation. Like Britt Baker comes women's champ.
Triggered!
Think
just lost half our listenership. all the people who are Memphis wrestling fans tuning into this.
But what I mean, she comes in women's champ, and she's the only one that thinks she's doing a great job. But the rest of like the division, and the rest of the company think like, we need to get rid of Britt Baker as like champ. And then a face comes in, and you just feel like she's gone. But like she's a good heel like MJF, so you want her to make you feel that way.
It'll mean more for Tay to win it from a heel as well, rather than Hikaru Shida working heel for half a match.
Yeah, I think this for Tay was just a great match to see her at Women's Championship standard. To give her a toe-to-toe match with Shida, which could have gone either way. Now it kind of, you come out of that and you don't feel like it's a wasted match, and you don't feel like Tay's been overlooked. You come out of that and be like, okay, she didn't win, but she is more than capable of winning on her day, like, because we've seen this over the last couple of months of building up. So I don't think that loss has dampened Tay at all. I think if anything, it's elevated her, dark elevation. It's elevated her to that title picture, which there's loads of women up there at the moment. It's going to be a heavily competed title.
I think it would have benefited from... sorry, go on.
If I can just quickly butt in, I think what I want to happen, what I feel would make the most sense, which probably means it won't happen, is Britt Baker to win, and then Thunder Rosa come out and say, well, I beat you before, I want the first shot of the title, and then we have Britt versus Thunder Rosa for the belt. That's the most logical
booking, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that should be the road they go down, because again, they had a brilliant match that was very well talked about, so having an even bigger match for the belt, well, I think that would do really well for AEW, and it'd be a good long-term feud to have between the two. Maybe until someone like Anna Jay, as Jack says, is ready and comes back, and he's able to compete.
Obviously not, AEW aren't in charge of the booking for this particular title, but if we have that Serena Deeb Thunder Rosa match she keeps talking about, and Thunder Rosa regains the NWA title, and then a title versus title match against Britt Baker, that would be what I would like to see. And if that happens, to be honest, I can see Britt Baker having a very short reign, and yeah, because I can't see them put in. Listen, Britt Baker's improved tremendously over the last year, from a kind of sloppy wrestler with a kind of awkward mic presence around January last year to who she is today, is commendable. But NWA fans and booking are a little bit snobbish, and I don't think it's been long enough for them, honestly, for her to be at the caliber she is, which I still don't feel like she's fantastic on the mic, but I don't think she is still yet. And her character work alone, she should win the title, and I want to see Britt Baker win the title, but she's not got the technical chops that I think the NWA management would want. So I could see, and to be honest, short reigns are kind of needed after how long Hikaru Shida's had the title. I think just to mix it up a bit and make it feel fresh, and kind of rebuild this division into something as exciting as it can be. There's a lot of women who deserve it.
I was going to say as well, I think that I don't know whether, obviously we'll mention this, I don't know whether we will, but hopefully we'll mention this segment later on in the night, but I feel that Jade Cargill at some point has to have the belt and just has to go on this monster run with it, because she's been built up like an absolute machine. So I'd expect her to, if she stays heel, I'd expect us to take the belt off a top babyface, whether that may be in a year's time.
You think, wouldn't you? And I might as well say this now, but I was thinking this watching the AEW, their roster's too big, man, and the solution to that isn't necessarily letting people go. It's making Dark Elevation something worth watching. It's making it their developmental, their NXT, and giving it title belts. Do you know what I mean? That's what I would do.
Well, we also said, Tom, that the Jade Cargill and Cutie Marshall kind of feels like in a different universe. Why not make it like, I know,
a different universe.
Yeah, I know it's obviously easy to look at SmackDown and Raw as two separate kind of universes in the same franchise and be like,
but no, is they're not the different universe, like with as main roster WWE NXT.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the thing: is that Jade Cargill could go on that monster run right now if Dark Elevation was the NXT of AEW. Do you know what I mean? She could do that right now, and she could be the women's world champ immediately. Yeah, I think that's what needs to happen, because I feel like they do a disservice to some of their wrestlers with how they try to book everybody, and it's like jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. I think a lot of people get left behind.
I think it's coming
into nonsensical, shitty angles. I hope so. I really hope so, because and they've shown that they can see, obviously NXT. I mean, if this has changed, correct me, Liam, but are they going to be at Full Sail? Well, are they at the Thunderdome at the moment? But during normal times, are they still at Full Sail?
They're at the Capitol Wrestling Centre.
There you go. So,
but they have for a while now.
They have a permanent base, right? Obviously,
yes.
Still. So that's. I mean, they've shown that Daily's Place can get that permanent view. So Daily's Place could be the place for Dark Elevation as a brand when AEW Dynamite goes back on the road, and that would avoid that feeling, because putting it on before
and or after Dynamite, it will get that WWE main event, WWE Superstars kind of feel, 205 Live, what have you. Whereas if they have their own look, their own thing, that's one of the things that made NXT so successful. So I think they could just keep, when they're traveling, and they could keep Dark as a brand, keep it in Daily's place, while Dynamite goes on the road. That's what I would like to see. Next up, we had a promo from Miro. Miro was lamenting the fact that Kip Sabian has no showed again, he called out a lot of champions again. The highlight being when he called Sting emo Facepaint daddy to Darby Allin. He's like, you can bring your this, your that, your emo Facepaint daddy. He's a funny guy. Jack, I'll come to you. What is this leading to a Miro Kip thing, or is Kip legitimately taking some time off with the COVID filming schedule, or because it's odd, isn't it, how he calls out Kip, but then he's like, I'll do it without you, and then calls out a load of champions. Like, who is he going to face next? Is he actually going to face Kip? You'd think, but it's not set in stone, is it? Yeah, no, I definitely think they're going to have the Kip Miro feud before he then goes on to the titles, or whatever title he wants to challenge for. But one thing that pissed me off is, and sorry, a bit of spoiler alert to next week's card, but he's like, Kip, where you been? You no-showed again. Like, Kip, where are you? I would have preferred if Kip's going to come back to kind of do it unannounced, whereas, and we'll discuss this more. But surely that would be quite a face move, and I can't buy into a face Kip Sabian, like that surprise return. That's really a face thing. Yeah, but a lot better than seeing Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford with Kip Sabian on next week's card, where it's just like, okay, true. So you're coming back. Kip's back, but I can see Miro getting involved in that and taking out Kip Sabian, Penelope Ford getting distracted off that, and Chris Statlander getting the win. Yeah, no, that's definitely a way it could, or what will happen. But I just don't like the way they kind of done that. I'd rather and I know you said it's a face thing to do, but come up unannounced, or at least have some sort of instead of just being like, okay. Because what's he going to do? Is he going to attack Miro for saying, where are you? Do you know what I mean? It seems. But I mean, there was a whole feud, Tom, that started about breaking a games machine. Let's not doubt anything. AEW let's not insert logic into this party where it wasn't invited. But no. In terms of promo, again, another wrestler who could win any of the belts. As he said, he'll take any of them. And insert conversation we just had about the roster being too big, and it'd be great to see, there being more belts. You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see him go on a conquest of gold kind of thing, and I'd like to see him, because Kip doesn't actually want to comply, and then Kip is clearly scared of him, that he'll just beat the shit out of Kip Sabian, drag his lifeless corpse to the ring, and have that be his tag partner. I like that. And then just fight the match, take the match 2-on-1 and win the titles with a lifeless Kip Sabian strewn in the corner. I would fucking pop for that shit. Why aren't we booking Dynamite? Right, next up we had Tony Schiavone interviewing the Inner Circle. I'm still laughing at the fact. You're still laughing? The thought of Kip Sabian just being half dead. They want to get him over, right? Like, Kip Sabian's a very meh character. Like, he's a solid wrestler with solid fundamentals, but he's just there. So, what better way to get him over than some comedy like that? Have him just battered. Do you reckon Miro does it every defense. He just ambushes him backstage every single defense, and you get this 3-minute segment of him beating the shit out of him in the locker room, throwing him into things Archer style, and then just dragging him out for their match. Do you reckon they'll let you do this on the Elite General Manager game? Just book it that way. I'm booking that shit. If they can't, what's even the point? Honestly, this is how I'm booking. Refund, please. Right, next up, as we say, we had Tony Schiavone interviewing the Inner Circle. Jericho starts out very face, cheap pop, says, who cares about the pineapple, the pinnacle? I just heard the Inner Circle squad as loud as they can be on a Wednesday night. And, poppity pop, pop, pop. He twice said Trail of Tears, which I just wrote Trail of Tears. Because the Trail of Tears is the you know, for those who are history inclined, is the a name for the Native American genocide. So I'm like, this is a bit not sure, Jericho, especially with your I mean, because he's. So I don't want to we're getting double political, but he is very Donald Trump in his delivery. Like he thinks up names for people like MJF, my jerk off friend. That would be, you know, Sleepy Joe Biden kind of things. You know what I mean? Crooked Hillary, and the pineapple, the pinnacle. Like he gets the name and sticks with it. Like yeah, we're we're playing with fire there. But then the mic gets handed off to Jake Hager, as I said it would be. The big men getting their turns today. Jake Hager throws a load of straws at the camera. Chris Jericho, because they'll be drinking through straws essentially. Chris Jericho says the Pinnacle never say anything concrete in their promos, which is very ironic because I don't think this promo particularly said anything. Santana says they waited for a crew behind them to kind of challenge the Inner Circle, and it's like, well, that's kind of a shitty point because the Inner Circle were a heel team, so like of course they fucking did. But anyway, he mentioned how it's a bitch move. Jericho starts repeating himself a lot. He sung a terrible song that didn't rhyme. Like it felt like he was ad-libbing a lot of his promo, and like I don't know, like. And I suppose he was ad-libbing it because he was making a point that MJF has scripted promos. Again, like, this meta commentary about promos I'm not a big fan of. But he made the point that, like, ad-lib promos are better, but he kind of proved MJF's point about scripted promos because this promo was so shit. He mentioned Rosie O'Donnell show again, which at this point I'm sick of it. It's just, it's too easy. It's too easy a diss on MJF. This was a bad promo in my eyes. Yeah, I don't know how you thought about it, Liam, but yeah. Oh, this is when he sang the show tune. So I'll come to you in a sec. This is when he sang the show tune. Shit song with bad rhymes. What the fuck, Jericho, is what I wrote down. Mentioned how he washed his ass with the scarf that Tully gave him. Like, when did you get the opportunity? It doesn't make sense. Next week they will have a parlay. And he tells MJF he will beat the living hell out of him while looking down into the camera. Where does this stand against... I mean, I don't want to influence your decision. Clearly, I have my opinions about it, but where do you think this stands, Liam, against Jericho's promo from last week?
Yeah, his promo last week and the one this week were like night and day. The one last week genuinely felt very... I don't want to say real and sound like a mark, but it sounded very like impassionate and like...
And Max, thank you very much.
Yeah. But, like, as for a match, I see what you did there. But whereas this week, like you said, it was very cringeworthy. It was very, like you said, the song didn't make sense. It didn't go. And if that's
it didn't rhyme at the end. And I thought he was going to...
Yeah.
He said it was like he was going to rhyme it with Lou or something, but then he was like, then I just flush your hair down the toilet. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, year one or something? Like, this is just some bullshit.
And if that's how Chris Jericho sings all the time, I don't want to see Fozzy live. You couldn't pay me enough money to go see Fozzy live.
Hot take.
Definitely. But, yeah, I like the fact that Santana and Hager got time to talk as well as it being just Jericho. But another thing as well, I don't know what a parlay is. So, I don't know whether I should be excited for that or whether I should be worried. I don't know.
The Birmingham education system has failed you. It's a meeting between
we don't
two
have
warring sides.
We don't have any education system.
Just throw you into a pile of broken glass and say, if you can get up out of that, you're ready for the world. You'll play for Villa or Birmingham, or you'll be on the dole. Is that it? Or work in a chip shop. There are prospects. Yeah, not a big fan of this promo. I think we both covered everything. It was, as you say, night and day. It was very weak from Jericho. Not what we've come to expect over his illustrious career of promos. I feel maybe he was trying to prove something to himself that he could ad-lib, but I don't think that he can. Next up, we had Billy Gunn versus Cutie Marshall. Oh, we came to Liam on the last one, so I'm excited to come to Jack first on this one. Okay, so I don't want to influence your decision at all. So, Jack, before I say anything about this match, what did you make of Billy Gunn versus our hero, Cutie Marshall?
the Lord and Saviour. What was it last time I was on? Because obviously I wasn't here last week. You said there's a QT meter, didn't we?
The QT meter, every time you're on, there's a QT meter. Has he moved up or down the QT meter towards earning your respect?
So where were we last time? Do you remember?
1 out of 10. I think he moved up a little bit the week before, and then he didn't move at all, which would mean, let's say it's a 10-point scale. The Cutie Marshall is at a 1.
Yeah, because I remember.
He moved up or down?
He moved up when he first turned, and then he cut that promo with Cesar Bononi throwing some paint at the. Anyway, that was shit. He went down. This one, I'd say, is it even possible to go further down? Like, I hated it.
I hated it too. It's back down to a 0. QT, what are you doing?
No. If anything, he's at -1 now. Oh, no, -1 or 0. This was... And
the QT, the Marshall scale is fluid. It can be a -1.
Every time I upload our podcast, I have to put whether it's clean or explicit. Now, I always put explicit anyway because this is the WNK podcast, but I don't swear too often on this podcast. But that was shit. That was a pile of shit. Wasted my time. What was the point? I was cringed out by it. I genuinely could not give less of a shit about the factory. They could just, as they did with Brandy Rhodes' little creepy, gimpy faction, they could just cut it and not give any context or tell anyone, and I genuinely still wouldn't care.
Technically, they did with Brandy. She showed up on commentary and apologised.
Yeah, there you go. But no, this was just unfair to Billy Gunn, who's had quite a successful career, to give him this sort of match. And yeah, I just thought it was shit. And I mean, the fact that it started out with Billy Gunn chasing them free and QT just pushing his mates in front to take it so he could dip away just angered me even more. I just don't like him. I just don't like the bloke.
One would argue, though, to play devil's advocate, that is the point.
Yeah, no,
that heel move.
It is. But I mean, you couldn't even pay me if he was at a Comic-Con to go meet him because I just couldn't be bothered. Like,
As I say, it is just devil's advocate because Cutie Marshall has that go away heat from me.
Yeah, but I just don't think it was a good match, and I don't know why this match was a thing.
Every point they made in this match could have been done with a promo. Do you not think?
Yeah, definitely. It was just a shower of shit, and I'm done.
Right, I'll run you through it. Anthony Ogogo was on the promo. Anthony Ogogo on the promo as QT came out doing some, I'm going to say, some British heel shit straight out of the 80s. This was cheap heat of the most shameless variety. I love Britain. I fucking hate America. He didn't say fucking. I'm only in this shithole of a country to. It's just, it's rubbish, and it was just he just hit every fucking stereotypical heel British Bulldogs 80s outdated tropes possible. Billy Gunn started the match attacking Cutie Marshall on the ramp. Excalibur buried Komoroto and Solo, weirdly enough. Like, I think JR or somebody like that, probably JR, mentioned how they're weak or something like that, and he was like, well, maybe Komoroto and Solo, but not Ogogo. It's like, I know you're trying to put over Ogogo as the emerging star from this, but Komoroto's not like a weak shit dude. I mean, I'm not sold on Aaron Solo, but Komoroto is the standout from this group.
Quickly, whilst it's on my mind, worst thing JR said. Obviously taking a piss out of Komoroto being quite a hairy bloke. He said, "Oh, what is Komoroto wearing? Is he like I think?"
Oh yeah, he said, "Is he wearing a shirt?"
He's wearing a coat and jumper. And I looked, I was like, "Is that taking a piss out of him being hairy?" Yeah, bad JR take that.
This is an episode. Okay, so sorry to cut away from the match quickly. This is such a bad JR episode that this match is actually not going to get my Screamer of the Week. It's JR. I mean, I know it's just for international audiences because it was just during that fight break on that match we talked about, but his just egregious kayfabe break has just pissed me off so much. But yeah, Jim Ross is less of a he's got I could not rate him less than 8 out of 10 just based on his absolute legacy of a career. He is the voice of wrestling for my generation. undisputed. However, he's tarnishing everything right now. He's not a commentator so much as he is just a guy who comes every week to watch wrestling and rip the shit out of it, and it ticks me off. So getting back in, we dive back in with a Jim Ross moment. He was getting his American Patriot on, and they kept coming back to it, and it clearly actually pissed the kind of Southern Oklahoma Belle JR off in real life, because he kept coming back to that cheap heat from a go-go. He was like, America's a great there's money in America. I was like, not for the people who need it, but we're getting a bit political again. Billy Gunn was beating down Cutie Marshall. Comoroto slams Billy into the ring post, and then Austin and Colton jump the barricade, and they all kind of fight away into the crowd. Cutie gets the upper hand back. Big pile driver, probably one of the only kind of notable spots of the match. Billy's on his knees and getting, on the receiving end of some punches from Cutie Marshall. He gets him, starts fighting back. A go-go, predictably, it was always on the cards, interrupts the match, gives him this body shot, and the fact that the match was not stopped from a 50-something-year-old Billy Gunn getting a body shot and reacting the exact same way as that jobber in the go-go match the other week, just because the ref didn't see the shot, just proves that this body shot is not as brutal as they're selling it as, because it's enough to be a stoppage when the ref sees it, but not when he doesn't. Surely whether it's a stoppage is based on the condition of the athlete who's taken it, not whether he saw it happen or not. Do you know what I mean? If he was really in that bad a state, that jobber, and Billy Gunn was in the same state, he'd be like, oh fuck, Billy Gunn's really fucked up, I better stop this match. But it just doesn't make sense having a stoppage for the body shot. Anyway, that was pretty much it, wasn't it? That was the cheat to win, and then they introduced the wooden chair. We're all thinking, why is there a wooden chair? Why is there a wooden chair? Dustin kind of interrupted to kind of even the odds, got a bull rope out, which I think might be an indication of a future match stipulation with Cutie Marshall. A go-go distracted, and Comoroto attacked Dustin, but then, and this was the only redeeming moment of this entire segment, maybe the pile driver, but the match and the after the match, was Comoroto took this wooden chair to the head and didn't even flinch. It was a great spot to put over what I think is the only redeemable factor in this faction is Nick Comoroto, and that is an image that will stay with you. So it ended on a high note with him just absorbing the impact of a wooden chair just being demolished over his head, and I was like, oh shit, that's badass. And I liked that. It wasn't a complete wash for me, this whole thing, but as I say, it could have been done with a promo. Sorry to ramble on. Liam, thoughts?
To give my take on this, the match itself, I'm going to be honest, I didn't actually watch it because I don't care for Billy Gunn or QT Marshall, so I just
Mr. Blinder.
So I
match of the night, mate.
6 stars in the Tokyo Dome.
I went straight to the end bit. I thought the spot with I can't remember who it was, but someone hit a chair over Nick Comoroto, and it obviously just
Justin Rhodes hit the road,
yeah, that was it. Sorry, I love that. But the other thing,
I love that too.
The other thing with Nick Comoroto, he looks like Vince's wet dream from the 80s. He'd be main event in the 80s and fucking the WWF or whatever Vince had at the time. And yeah, it's good to see wrestlers that look like they belong in an olden era.
I think I don't know, like, they must have done that for a reason. They must have known that'll put Nick Comoroto over, but it's odd to me that they are doing something that's kind of like that. Him taking that chair, depending on his future career, could be a kind of iconic moment, an iconic image in the career of Nick Comoroto if he ever becomes one of the greats. And yet they've done that while trying to push Anthony Ogogo as the kind of breakout of this faction with these same fucking tired tropes. It's just weird. At the moment I'm despite being a Brit who apparently idolises Anthony Ogogo by default. Who thought it? I didn't know, but I guess we're gonna have to go with it because AEW says so. Nick Comoroto is my kind of my redeeming factor in the factory thing. The only good thing about it for me.
If I can just say one more thing as well, I know me and Thomas spoke about this outside of this podcast. Why are they billing Anthony Ogogo from the east of England? Surely they can find somewhere a little bit more localised.
Because his hometown is too hard to pronounce, so...
Just lie and say, like I said to you, just lie and say he's from London.
Say he's from the East End. So they could say he's from the East End and just leave it at that, because one, it would go with the whole Peaky Blinders vibe they've got with his entrance music, and two, technically, they're not saying he's from the East End of London. Do you know what I mean? It's implied, but it could be the East End of all of England. But
realistically,
from the East End, say that.
They can say wherever the fuck they want. They've got a wrestler on their roster that's built from the Andromeda Galaxy. They can say wherever the fuck they want. Like,
I know, but like, I don't know. I guess they're trying to add that kind of aspect of realism with him being a former Olympian. They want him to be, but they can't pronounce his hometown, so they're just gonna have to say. I mean, I think I went over this with Patrick. I think we talked about it on the podcast, to be honest. So that shows how much you listen. We talked about it could be, it's like them saying from the north of Germany. It's like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
weird.
It is weird. Next up, we had... Oh, this was good. The Elite. And again, they are calling them the Elite. They reiterated that the five of them together are the Elite. That includes Gallows and Anderson. So, looking like absolute G's, like they're about to film a music video, all of them kind of in their trailer. Don says that Kenny is going to be Impact World Champ soon. Matt starts riffing and says that they are the ones responsible for bringing Japan to the kind of forefront and bringing it to America, and the fact that the Bullet Club shirts, they didn't say Bullet Club by name, but they took responsibility for the popularity of that shirt. We hear kind of a car horn beeping throughout this whole thing. And Mox and Kingston are outside. Everyone scarpers because the trailer was empty, but not before Mox and Kingston crashed their 4x4 truck into the side of the trailer, and basically got out and. They were looking for the Bucks. They were, here's Johnny kind of thing. Jackson boys, and and Eddie wanted to steal the designer shoes, and Mox was like, this is how you ad lib, and Mox was like, just leave it. You're always looking for shoes. Like it was good stuff. Let's come to Liam, because we came to Jack about a promo before, and I kind of own one. Liam. Thoughts on this segment, this promo, if you will, or whatever you want to call it?
Well, I'm going to do it in two parts, because the Elite part of the promo
guest.
I thought was good. It carried on with their whole dickhead heel type of character they all have, and I really like that about them, and I just love the fact that Nakazawa's just there, just minding his own business, chilling, while the rest of them just look menacing and do whatever. But the only thing I didn't like about this, which maybe one of you can explain this to me and it make sense, was the fact
it make sense!
was the fact that obviously they heard the beeping, Kenny referenced it, but when Mox and Kingston drove into the trailer, they'd all fucked off.
I think the implication was that they ran out of the door. I just think it didn't translate well to TV. I think the camera angle pans around and they're driving into the side of it, and then the doors open the other side. I think one thing that really didn't add to it was the fact that the lights were on when they were all inside, and then the lights were off. And it's like, why would they turn the lights off when they're fleeing for their lives? Do you know what I mean? So it very much made it clear that it was filmed prior to the actual. It seemed like it was filmed prior, although they said it was live and the crowd were cheering, hearing the beeps, and I assume they could hear them from inside the stadium. So I don't know how they did that if it was filmed prior, but it certainly looked like the Elite promo was filmed prior to the thing, because like I said, the lights were off. I just find it odd that they would decide to turn the light off as we go out and save electricity for the planet. How very dare you? Yeah, no, it is odd. Any more comments about the stuff that Mox did before I give my take on it?
Yeah, just
about
one.
Mox and Kingston. I wasn't asking for your opinion, but
sorry.
go on.
Go on,
no,
Jack.
go on, Jack.
I just look sad now. Only one bit I wanted to laugh at was when obviously Mox was smashing in the window with the lead pipe, and then the third time he like threw it, and then Kings was like, "Dude, you could have hit me," because he was right behind. That was the only bit. Love that.
Right, I'm going to give my take on this. So, this is one of my problems with AEW, and it's only so much of a problem because of how close to perfection they are. They are so close to that kind of Attitude Era storytelling, and I was so psyched when I heard the car beeping, and when it went outside to Mox and Kingston, and then they crashed into the side of the trail. I'm like, fuck yeah. They need to take it further. Do you know what I mean? Like, Stone Cold Steve Austin filled a fucking limo with cement. He did all this crazy shit. The beer truck and stuff like that. They needed to set the fucking trailer on fire. That's what they needed to do. Do you know what I mean? And do you know what? When he was like, Eddie, get the pipe. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh shit, get the pipe. And the announcers were selling it, and then they just used the pipe to do in the windows. Like, I thought he was going to put the pipe over the fucking door to trap them in. They were going to take off with the trailer. They were going to take him on a joyride, dump him in the river. Set fire to the trailer or something. Like, amp it up, man. Like, they've just given him a minor traffic accident. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it was a good start. I was like, oh yeah, they fucking crashed into them. This is Attitude Era shit, man. Take it further, and then they didn't. Do you know what I mean? It was so close to greatness, and I like this segment, but I just feel it was a waste of putting a dent in a trailer, not to just do something more with it and take it further. I just want explosions, man. What do I have to do for an explosion?
I'm going to be honest, the way that I thought this was going to go at first when I seen the vehicle that they had, was I thought they were going to somehow get the trailer and, like, tow it and take it away with the elite staying inside.
Exactly, that's what I said.
Like
that's what I said, and put a bar in the bar that he was calling for would go over the door to stop him getting out. That's what I mean.
That's
then dump him in the river or something like that.
Point. Like, I thought they'd do similar as well, but, like you said, they're so close to perfection. But it's like there's always a little bit away. But Mox and Kingston, obviously, you always get big like Attitude Era vibes from them, and they have such good chemistry with each other. Any segment they do together, especially when they're active, it's absolute gold.
So true. Kingston absolutely elevates Mox, who some people have had criticism about his promos being samey, namely you. But Eddie does kind of elevate him, and their real life friendship kind of comes through, and their promos are just so much. They're great separately. They're great together. Yeah, no, I liked it. You know what? I feel how women must feel after a good shag where they didn't orgasm. Do you know what I mean? Like, Liam, you know all about that, don't you?
Yeah, I was about to say, Molly listens to the podcast, so right now she'll be smiling, knowing what you're on about.
Yeah, shout out. But yeah, she could probably tell me how close to the mark I am with this, or how far from the mark you were.
Liam,
no, sorry, I couldn't help it. I couldn't help just making my own joke. I couldn't. So no, what? Don't say do it again. Leave that shit in. Oh fucking. Oh, anyway, compose myself. Right, no, how close to the mark they were with this, and yeah, it feels like I was waiting. It was nice. It was perfectly nice. I was waiting for the climax, and it did not come. Next up. It did not come, and it should come. Leave that hanging in the air. Next up, we had Will Hobbs. Not Will Hobbs, sorry, we don't call him that anymore. Powerhouse Hobbs versus Christian Cage, and we certainly don't call him Willie JR. That's probably why they changed his fucking name, because JR wouldn't stop with that shit. Powerhouse Hobbs versus Christian Cage. Yeah, Taz mentioned how they're banned from ringside because of their antics with Hangman earlier. Jack, how did this match go for you?
I mean, again, second Christian Cage match. Don't think he outworked everyone.
I don't think he outworked. It's meh. It's meh. And this is the thing: is that Will Hobbs came out of this looking better. Will Hobbs got some really nice kind of smooth grapples in, some big power moves. It's like, it's not selling. I mean, if I I've seen a lot of Christian Cage, and I have no doubt that to be able to take a beating like this, he still does have it. But this isn't selling me on Christian Cage. If I put myself in the shoes of someone who's never seen him, do you know what I mean? I've seen these two matches, I'm like, what's the hype? Do you know what I mean?
And I got to say, I kind of represent that kind of person on this pod. I've not seen a lot of Christian Cage, admittedly. Like I said, I know of him, and I've seen a couple of his.
That's fine, Jack. Embrace who you are, because it gives a fresh take to this podcast. It's nice to have someone who's got less exposure to people from before their time in AEW, because you get that invaluable fresh eyes on them.
Well, yeah. So for that sake, like obviously him coming in, I was excited because I knew of him. I knew what a legend he was, and there was a lot of hype around him, and this all outwork everyone. But a Frankie Kazarian match kind of let us down. Not from Frankie Kazarian's side, but Christian Cage. And I remember saying the exact same thing, which I'm going to say now with this match. He looks good at reversing other people's moves. On his own moveset, doesn't seem too great. Like when he's carrying the match, or when he's in front of the match and he's got the, it's his kind of hype and he's, hitting it. He doesn't look as good as when someone's beating him up and he's reversing it and he's, getting himself out of sticky situations. And that's what I take from Christian Cage matches. It's not, you don't watch it and say, oh, that was a Christian Cage dominance. If anything, you say the other person's the dominating one. You come into it and think, and like I did, I'm like, okay, Christian Cage should be the dominant one this one. He's not. But he knows how to get himself out of all these kind of situations. That was what I was getting a lot of it. Like when he was up against like the... in the corner, he'd like dip out by like the rope or something like that, and all these different, and technically he's very good. I think it's been a while since he wrestled, so you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. He does look good for his age. He does look good for someone that hasn't wrestled in 7 years, and it is going to take time. But I've not got the hype so far, and yeah, the only kind of thing I'm liking about him, if anything, is seeing him reverse these moves.
So AEW seem to be, with Christian Cage and Darby Allin for that matter, seem to be falling into the trap of, there's two big ways you book little guys. One of them is that they go toe-to-toe with the big guys by using their speed and speed moves, and the other is that they just get the shit kicked out of them, endure it, and then get a lucky victory. And I think objectively, nine times out of 10, unless you're booking it very well and in a very specific way, the former is the safer option. Do you know what I mean? The speed moves, like big swinging DDTs and running rings around him. Maybe Christian can't do that because of his age, but in that case, don't say you outwork everybody.
Yeah, Jungle Boy's been showing it all through his AEW career. He is that smaller one, and he hasn't been doing the, getting beat.
I'll tell you what,
he's been doing the other one, yeah.
Tell you who walks the line between the two quite well is Marco Stunt, right? Yes. Marco Stunt does all the speed moves, and he gets yeeted by his tag partners and into people and stuff. Then he eats a big boot and just totally eats shit. Do you know what I mean? But he's, like I said, he merges both of those. That's option number 3, is merging them both. Do you know what I mean? Like he does all those speed moves, big quick flurry, then he takes one big hit and it's like game over for the rest of the match for him. But at least he does have that speedy offense. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, I don't know, this isn't the way to book it. It just bums me out, But yeah, let's go play-by-play, and then we'll go to Liam. Powerhouse is throwing Cage around pretty much from the get-go. Cage gets some slaps in and just pisses Hobbes off, and weirdly runs away from Hobbes, which wasn't a very face move. Hobbes takes Christian down on the outside, throws him over the barricade, reverse DDT from Hobbes, actually. And then they start up with the headlocks for the break. Christian tries to fight out, but almost gets fucking decapitated by a second rope move from Hobbes throwing him into the second rope. Gets beat down, another headlock. We come back from the break, so the rest holds kind of ease up a bit. Christian fights out, attempts the kill switch, gets thrown back down. Hobbes stands on Christian, like on his head or the back of his neck, on the ropes. And, no, was this that song? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, and then he went for the splash, the kind of Jake Hager style splash off the ropes. Christian reversed and then had a little rally. He hit his pendulum kick, which was nice to see. I haven't seen that since his WWE days. A diving uppercut. I think he might have missed the pendulum kick actually, but anyway. Oh no, sorry, I've got things mixed up. Christian Cage was the one stepping on the back of Hobbs' head, apparently, pushing his neck into the ropes. So apologies for that. And that came at this point in the match. Really nice spinebuster from Hobbes, I will say. Double A would be proud of that one. Hobbes is beating Christian against the ropes. It's a mistake on his part as Christian kind of uses Hobbes being up on the ropes to hit the powerbomb. Frog splash from Christian for the 2 count. Christian goes for a sleeper, but Hobbes battles out. But then Christian kind of, reversed into the kill switch for a win that felt a little unearned for me, because really the only offense that Hobbes Big Bad Hobbes kind of ate during this match was the frog splash and then the kill switch. And to truth be told, he really didn't look that bad after the frog splash. So it was pretty much a one move victory for me, which is the downside of you're booking somebody. When you book somebody to look strong and lose, and you're booking someone to dominate the entire match but still lose it, you think you're putting over the little guy. You think you're putting over both of them. You're putting over the little guy by giving him the win, and you're putting over the big guy by having him dominate the match. It's not really that simple, because then the little guy gets 1 or 2 moves in, and that keeps the big guy down. So unless you go with a surprise victory, which they probably should have done, like a surprise roll-up, then you're just making it look like you can beat him with like 1 or 2 good moves. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, Liam, thoughts on this match?
One of the matches I was quite excited for, because it's a match, if you told me even 6 months ago like you were going to see this match, I'd put you in a psychiatric ward. So it's a complete different clash of styles, but to echo what Jack and yourself said, I do feel that Christian Cage is very limited in his own moveset, but he is really good at pulling off reversals. And it's that
WWE kind of indoctrination, I suppose, of everyone gets some 4 moves of doom. He's kind of, I don't know, he might not have the greatest kind of moveset in the world.
Yeah,
the vastest
agreed.
kind of moveset in the world, should I say, the kind of widest.
And I liked the finish of the match as well, where it's Hobbs' inexperience and incompetence that ultimately cost him the match, because obviously it was him having me taunt when he had Christian on the shoulders, which led to the kill switch, or the unprettier, as I prefer to call it, being a mark.
Or the impaler. That was back in the day.
I don't remember that. When was that?
No, you wouldn't, because that was before your time. That was Attitude Era Christian was the impaler.
Ah, fair. Okay.
There's the impaler, and then I think it was the kill switch in TNA, was it? And then the imprettier when he was back in WWE. Yeah, no. It's had so many moves. I wish they'd given it another one just to make it the meme of just renaming it all the fucking time. Next up. What was next up? Next up, we had a promo from Jade Cargill, which was alluded to earlier in the night. She's saying everyone wants her in their stable. We hear from quote-unquote everyone, which was just Matt Hardy and Vicky Guerrero. Maybe they'll air more of these week in, week out, and we'll get different stable leaders. But to be honest, I thought Matt Hardy and Vicky Guerrero were pretty affiliated at this point with how they've, they made a couple of appearances together, but their respective crews. And by crew with Vicky Guerrero, it's not much of a crew. It's Nyla Rose. It's one person. She's a manager. I don't know why. I don't get Vicious Vixens. Sorry, no, we're supposed to pretend we love Vicious Vixens. Hold on. I really get Vicious Vixens. It's so cool how they're a stable of just one person. And that totally makes sense. And Vicky Guerrero is totally not just Nyla Rose's manager masquerading as a stable. Liam, thoughts on Nyla Rose? Thoughts on who she might join if she joins the faction? She said someone will have to make her a really good offer. What's going to happen with that? She said she doesn't need a faction, but if someone comes in with the right offer, surely it's big money, Matt. If it's if it's financial offers she's after.
To be honest, I don't. If she has to go with a faction or a stable, for some reason I've got a gut feeling she's going to go in the Pinnacle.
Yeah,
which suits her,
that
and I think
fits,
it suits
to be
them
honest,
as well.
Yeah, I do think the Vicious Vixens also kind of suits her as a tag team. But one, unless they're really dedicating to crossing over more with Impact, there's no real opponents for a female tag team in AEW because there's no women's tag division. And two, what's two? I've forgotten. That's my main point. Two, it's the fact that they had Vicky Guerrero addressing it in the first place. In pro wrestling logic, generally means it's not going to happen. So I could see the Pinnacle as well.
Same. The only other thing I think of regarding a manager, because obviously Pinnacle, it'd be Tony Blanchard. Maybe, or the only thing I think of, if there's someone else that they'd maybe bring into AEW to have manager who's done with wrestling, I don't know who that'd be who's recently retired. Maybe Jazz, because I know she's recently retired from Impact.
Yeah.
So,
thanks for spoiling that, because she had a title versus retirement match and I haven't watched it yet. Don't worry about it.
Whoops, sorry. Whoops, sorry about that. Yes.
No, I figured she was going to be honest with you.
And the only thing, I'm stealing this from Reddit. I haven't come up with this idea at all, but someone on Reddit said it, and now I want it to happen. And it's Jade Cargill to have her own group with Chelsea Green and the Iconics. And now that's been put out into the world, I really want to see it happen, because I just think it'd be brilliant.
That'd be cool. Yeah, no, I mean, she doesn't need a fact. Here's the thing, like, this, I say this all the time, but I'm going to reiterate it now. If they're going to do factions in AEW, I want them to do factions. I don't want them to just have, like... I don't want them to just have everyone seems to join a faction, and yet factions aren't a core aspect of the product. Like, make factions, like New Japan Pro Wrestling, make factions a core component of the product, to the point where it's just expected someone will join a faction when they join AEW. Do you know what I mean? Just like it's expected someone will join a faction when they join New Japan. Have, really drill home the faction warfare aspect. Have their faction logo come up on their nameplate as they come out. Just like do it or don't do it, but don't just fucking half-ass it. Don't I don't know. I'd like to see them commit to factions, or have less faction. Either have less everyone needing a manager shit, or go harder and just commit to it. And but I just don't like the kind of dilly-dallying, to be honest with you. Next up, it was our main event of the evening. Darby Allin versus Jungle Boy for the TNT title, voted for by the fans. Apparently, I missed that vote for Jungle Boy to face Darby Allin. First off, Darby Allin's makeup is amazing. Second off, what did you think of this match, Jack?
I'll tell you what, I loved it. I got clickbaited with this as well, so I went into... So yeah, I don't really want to. I mean, we're a review, and by the time we get this out, people have seen the match anyway. So I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah, I got clickbaited by AEW, and I'm not proud of it. So I woke up this morning, went on my phone, but I didn't. I normally go on my phone like very half-assed. Like if I see immediately something's posted by AEW, I immediately just skim past. So I'd never normally get spoiled. They decided to upload their YouTube clip, which I firstly think is stupid, because clearly people in the UK haven't seen it yet. It's clearly Thursday morning, so it's dumb. And the first thing that I saw said, "and new TNT." So I immediately thought, fuck off, and I was so hyped and I was so ready to watch this, right? And then... And throughout the whole match, I was like, when's it going to happen? When's it happen? I was so ready. And all of a sudden, Darby goes and wins it. I hear his music and I'm like, what? Like, I'm fuming. I'm like, surely not. Surely. And they put a new TNT. I was like, what? I was like, surely they're going to call it back, and maybe he won it at some point in the match. And then, because obviously...
It'll happen. It'll still happen.
And then obviously, clearly...
Gripping your little Jungle Boy plushie, like with your dinosaur mask on.
But no, and then obviously the show ended. I was like, wait, so what happened? So I went back on YouTube to see what the new... the notification was, and it said, "and new TNT champion, ? Can Jungle Boy do it?" And I was like, you motherfuckers. I was
That's
like,
dirty.
It was, but it completely threw me off. So I think that was worth mentioning. But no, in terms of the actual match, taking it for what it was, I'll tell you what, a lot more impressed with Darby this week. I think hopefully you boys agree. It wasn't
slightly more impressed with Darby on my part.
I don't think it was as much a Darby squash and then him get a win dramatically. Or I don't feel like he was I don't think he was overly punished too much, so that if he pulled up from the pin, that it wasn't unrealistic. I think this was an actual realistic match, and everything that was took did feel realistic. Throughout the flow of the match, I thought it was really fast paced. I enjoyed it. These two, for me, wrestling wise, have great chemistry. I thought they flow really well. They got a similar sort of feel to them, but different in the same way. Jungle Boy, to me, being a lot more technical, and Darby being a bit more, Darby. And yeah, no, just thoroughly enjoyed it. I knew I would. I knew equally like Hikaru Shida versus Tay Conti had big fight feel. And because of that clickbait, I went into it thinking it was that it was going to change hands, and it didn't. And I did come out of it feeling a bit gutted because I'm thinking, who's going to take it off him? But I always then reevaluate, and Jungle Boy's only 23, and he's a class wrestler. I have no doubt that within the next year, 2, he will take it. He will have his time. Sometimes you don't want to push them too soon, because it could be the downfall of them, as I think it maybe has been for Darby a little bit. But
I think Jungle Boy has all the markings of a future Kenny Omega, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
style.
I love him. Yeah,
work on the mic and
I think he's
refine his style a little bit, but
and he's got himself in all the title pictures. He could be tag champ with Luchasaurus, could have TNT, could have world champ. It will be his time, I don't think. But now I'm looking forward to see who can take it off Darby, because now I've got clickbaited like that. Who will end this undefeatable title reign? Apparently,
it's like if you're old enough to remember South Park season 1. Who is Eric Cartman's father? Who will? Is the way you said that. And Darby Allin's title reign. Nope, just me. I'm old. So yeah, I think Jungle Boy will really be the litmus test for whether AEW can kind of develop talent on the same scale as other companies, because he is the kind of guy that would thrive in other companies. So if they drop the ball on Jungle Boy and he doesn't become what we expect him to be in the ring, then blame Cutie Marshall. He's a trainer there apparently. So yeah, I'll just give you the rundown and then we'll come to Liam. So first off, Darby Allin's makeup was amazing today. I think he's got a proper kind of spray paint the likes that Finn Balor has now backstage. He must have to sit for a while, or it might just be for title matches. Anyway, I thought maybe a draw was incoming on this one, like a time limit draw, because of the TV time remaining and because how both guys are so over, but as Jack said, it wasn't that way. After a bit of an awkward start, Darby kind of locked in the front chancery for the beginning of the kind of technical section of the match that is at the beginning of a lot of AEW matches, but it was a couple of minutes before they even seemed to lock up, it seemed anyway. Action went outside and spilled over the barricade. Darby's knee looked buggered pretty much immediately. Jungle Boy got a 1 count when it went back in, and immediately clobbered Darby with a brutal elbow. Darby sold it like he died for a 2 count. So Darby, at this point, this is the problem. Darby's already taken a 1 count and then a 2 count. It's like, where can you go from here? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, Darby fights back briefly, but Jungle Boy brings it back and climbs a turnbuckle. His momentum doesn't last for long as Darby puts him down for the superplex. Match kind of speeds up. I think this is probably after a commercial break. Darby got hit with a belly-to-belly into the post. Jungle Boy hit a German suplex with a bridge before a nice tiger suplex, also with a bridge. Darby hit the stunner for a 2. Really nice body scissors from Jungle Boy, and it was kind of a body scissors Hurricane Rana, and I've seen people online thinking this might have been a botch, but the general consensus seems to be, but fuck it looked really cool. So maybe it was a botch, but he should keep doing it if it was. Jungle Boy, and this is when Jungle Boy started to get hyped, and this is the kind of thing, the kind of explosivity that I also see in Tay Conte, that I could see Jungle Boy becoming a future kind of Kenny Omega. He hit 3 topes in a row, the last being of the Con Hero variety. This, the back and forth outside went on a bit until Darby Allin hit the coffin drop on the apron, brutal spot. Again, this is when the match kind of picked up for me. Luchasaurus helped Jungle Boy into the ring. Sting was not happy with that, and Sting and Luchasaurus threw down. Sting is very brave. That is a dinosaur and a PhD. Jungle Boy hit a series of moves, ending with a snare trap, getting Darby in the snare trap. Then did a beautiful Romero special and was really fucking Darby up, and then got him back into the snare trap. Darby Allin gouged the eyes to escape, which was, again, this was a show of faces acting heel. That was the theme today. Jungle Boy started desperately striking Allin like he'd exhausted all his moves. He'd even tried repeating moves. This is when see, this is what I loved. This is when I started really liking this match, was when Jungle Boy was like pounding away at him, like, what do I have to do? Like, they were selling it in a way that Matt Hardy didn't. And then he went for the sunset flip, but Darby locked in the, apparently it's called the Last Supper pin for the win. I will say, love seeing pin finishers because they are so rare. The only other one I know of is that Orange Cassidy one, and I haven't seen him do it in yonks. Then again, I haven't seen Orange Cassidy a single match in yonks, so maybe he still does. After the match, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page start beating down Darby. Lance Archer comes out to make the save, and he gets double low blowed by Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, and then Sting comes back out for the save on Archer. Bloody called it that they'd be allies. I think it was Patrick last week telling me that they'd be enemies. I said, no, that's not how it's going to go down, and look at me now. I will say I thought this match started hitting the emotional notes far too late. I only really got invested in the match as decent and passable as it was when Jungle Boy started throwing those desperate strikes, and then 30 seconds later it was over. So I was like, oh, and I get it. That's probably a TV limitation aspect. Like, if this was on a pay-per-view and they let this go an extra 10 minutes, then I think it could have been a blinder. As it stands, wasn't my match of the night, but a decent match nonetheless. Liam, thoughts?
Again, to echo what you were saying, I do feel that it, not should have, but I think it could have been a time limit draw, because it keeps both of them looking strong, because obviously they're both, well, Darby isn't really homegrown AEW talent, but they're both investing in their younger talent and having them have the big main event, and they obviously
well, Anthony Ogogo is technically the only homegrown AEW talent so far. He's AEW's first developmental wrestler. Obviously, Jungle Boy was at places like GCW before, so but I get what you mean. He's not like Darby was quite big and evolved, wasn't he? So
also, this isn't relevant at all, but it's just popped up on my phone, so I'm telling you anyway. If you want to cut this out, then feel free. AEW's
cutting all of your stuff out. Don't worry about it.
AEW's done 1,100,000 for viewers.
Amazing.
So, a slight decrease, but it's over 1 million again. But if you want to save that to the end, we can, obviously.
Oh yes, we will talk about it. Okay. Continue, sir, on your review of this match.
Again, I feel that this match is one of them that years down the line, it's going to be a world title match. And a big AEW event, 100%. Like, maybe that's 3, 4, 5 years, whoever. But yeah, I do think that they have it.
Hopefully in 3, 4, 5 years, Darby Allin will have shaken the Team Taz stank off him.
I hope so. I really hope so. But I think that they have a world beater of a match in them. Obviously, that wasn't this match. I do think they'll have better bouts against each other in the future. But it was a very good TV match, and I feel we can kind of see the rawness in them both. But obviously, they're both young. That will eventually go out of them over the years as they carry on to wrestle. Because another thing that I loved about this match as well, it felt like there was a lot left, and it made you want to see another match between them both.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, well, I suppose that plays into what I said about, I was like, that wasn't done. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, maybe that's the feeling they wanted you to leave with. I didn't think they went about it the right way by, like I said, hitting those emotional notes with Jungle Boy getting so desperate so late on, because I was like, oh, I'm into this now. Do you know what I mean? I'm emotionally invested now, and it's like, oh, it's over. But yeah, no, and with a pin finisher was what put him down as well, which, like I said, we don't see a lot of them. They've named it, so we will see more of it in the future. I guess it's another tool for Darby to just, win matches that he's got the shit kicked out of him during. If he's hitting a finisher pin, then it adds some weight to his surprise wins, I guess. But that brings us to the end of our show. Shall we discuss what our matches of the night were? Or, well, first off, let's get the negatives out of the way. My shocker of the week. I think I've alluded to it already. It won't be QT versus I can't even remember who he faced now. Billy Gunn. It will be JR's horrible kayfabe break. So, match of the night, boys. Again, we'll go guess. Actually, no, we won't go guess first. We won't guess first at the beginning of the show. I've missed Jack. Jack wasn't here last week. Jack first. What was your match of the night?
I think, arguably, you could split it up between 3. I think Hangman Ricky Starks you could have a shout for. I think Hikaru Shida and Take On T you could have a shout for, and I think you could have a shout for the main event. I think for the fact I got clickbaited, that threw me off more, so I don't think I'll give it to the main event. I think this week I'm going to give it to ladies again. I'm feeling it's ladies'
Let's hear
night
it for the girls.
and-
We went for different songs. Mine's not even about girls. Mine's for the boys.
yeah, Tay Conti versus Hikaru Shida for me.
All right, Liam, how about you?
Mine is also Tay Conti versus Hikaru Shida, just because of the sheer unpredictability of it.
It's unanimous. It's that is also mine. Tay Conti versus Hikaru Shida. Tay Conti versus Hikaru Shida, followed by Darby versus Jungle Boy, followed by Hangman Page versus Ricky Starks.
I'll tell you what might be interesting to look at. See how many of our episodes so far the women's have won, because I'd be surprised if it wasn't. I think that our match of the nights have mainly been women's matches when they have been,
on the card.
I think
unless it's like a Jade Gargle squash match or something. But Jack, would you like to take the reins on Patrick? I mean, obviously he usually does it during the show, but would you like to? I know how much you want your own segment. Would you like to take over Patrick's duties of heel moment of the week?
Oh crikey! Right, let me just pause.
Oh, on the spot. You weren't expecting this.
Let me pause. My heel moment of the week, I've got between two. I'm going to do a heel moment of the week for someone who is an actual heel, and a heel moment for the week for someone when you weren't expecting it. So, the one which doesn't really count, that isn't really the heel moment of the week, but Hikaru Shida with her heelish sort of attitude towards Tay Conti would be, the one that was a bit unexpected. And I'm going to go for heel moment of the week, MJF's shots towards Chris Jericho.
Oh, so I thought you were going to go for Hikaru Shida then. You're going through MJF's shots on Chris Jericho, yeah?
Yeah, I was going to Hikaru Shida for the one. Like, Hikaru Shida's not really my heel moment of the week, but I did think she had heelish ways.
Notable mention.
Yes, but no, heel moment of the week, we'll go MJF's shots at Chris Jericho.
Well, this is perfect because our soundbite that we used for heel moment of the week was originally May Saruga reacting to MJF. So, take it away, May.
God damn it.
May Saruga, in fact, some say, is the same as May Saint Michelle, who just won the TJP Princess Tag Team Championships. Was that one that you watched with me, Liam?
Yes, I think.
I think so. I think it all blends into one when you watch with me because you just tune in for the. It doesn't for me. It's very distinct for me. I'm going to get you into it. We'll talk about it in less important shows, but yeah. That was our heel moment of the week, and that's our Dynamite review. We will be looking at next week's card right about now.
I can do next week's card for you, Tom. I've got it right here, all prepped. Brian Cage with Taz and Ricky Starks versus Hangman Page. Cage versus Page. We've wanted to see it. It's here. Right, this one's weirded me out because I remember them saying it. Apparently, it's a tag team eliminator tournament match. AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks versus Matt and Mike Sydal. How the fuck have they earned that? I have no idea. Inner Circle and the Pinnacle, the Parlay, is taking place next week. Chris Statlander with Orange Cassidy versus Penelope Ford with the return of Kip Sabian.
Penelope Ford. That's what you said, that. Penelope Ford.
A trios match, the Nightmare Family versus the Factory with Anthony Ogogo. And, I mean, I can't...
Isn't he part of the Nightmare Factory?
Yeah, so I don't know why they...
Ogogo?
Anyway. And Penta El Zero Miedo with Alex Abrahantes versus Orange Cassidy with Trent.
With Trent?
There you go. And that is next week's card, boys.
What are we excited for the most, Liam?
Has to be Penta versus Orange Cassidy. And Young Bucks versus Sydal Bros, obviously that will be a good match, but we've seen it already, I think, on more than one occasion in different variations of it as well. But again, that should be good.
I'm not hyped to see the Sydal Bros. Even a match with Young Bucks. I mean, it should be good. It should be good, like you said. And they'll be able to put on a good match together. It will be a solid match, but in terms of storyline implications, it's very one-sided. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, I think I agree with you about Orange Cassidy. Excited to see Chris Statlander in action again. I'm excited to see all the members of the Best Friends. Although I think tonight's match did not really do anything for them. It didn't. Trent looked good, but it didn't really do anything for the red hot momentum. It didn't take away from it, but it didn't really add anything to the kind of how red hot the best friends feel right now, at least to me. And I really hope they don't lose that momentum they had off the back of Arcade Anarchy. Because, like I said, tonight did nothing for it. I'm hoping next week does more. Jack?
I was going to... If we're going based on actual matches, because I think everyone's excited for this parlay, I'm going to go with Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford. I have let it be known before in the podcast I am a fan of Penelope Ford and Chris Statlander as well. It's great to see her back, and the more Chris Statlander we get, the more of the alien. I'm excited. I think it's seeing as we've given so many matches of the nights to the girls, why not make it the most hyped for next week? I'm excited to see what more they can do for us.
I'm excited to see who uses Where Is My Mind, if anyone.
Well,
because there's matches from there's matches from Chris Statlander, Orange Cassidy, and Trent.
No, Trent is with Orange Cassidy.
Oh, Trent is with Orange Cassidy. Okay,
yeah, there you go.
Well, then that won't be. We saw him have an entrance tonight, didn't we? So, but we'll see if Chris Statlander's still using it at any rate. Right, one last thing to do, guys, and that is
Less important shows.
That is right. It is less important shows. Jack, you probably watched no other wrestling this week, did you?
I have actually.
Been a busy boy.
I said to Liam, I have nothing that was aired this week. It was not old wrestling.
Shut
but
me
a couple
up.
of weeks. I said to Liam anyway, because I think maybe last time I recorded, I'm not too sure actually. I watched basically night one of NXT's WrestleMania shows, but I never watched
Stand
night two.
and Deliver.
Yes, and I finally got around to watching night two. Highlight being Adam Cole, Bebe versus Kyle O'Reilly. Great match for that one. And I watched the Finn Balor match against Karrion Kross, and I was impressed with both, to be fair. I don't often watch WWE products, but I thought, you know what, everyone always sings the praises of NXT, why not give it a go? And I've got to say, I was impressed. And with night one, with Io Shirai versus Raquel Gonzalez and Walter versus Ciampa. See, I'm already knowing the wrestlers. That was with the assistance of Liam earlier when you weren't here. So NXT I'm kind of jumping on a little bit. Not fully committed, but the odd match here and there. I think I love Britt Baker and I love Adam Cole, so I think I'm just going to support Adam Cole in all his ventures.
And you're still not watched Spring Break on my recommendation. That's fine. Liam, you and me have watched some wrestling, haven't we? Some wrestling from Japan.
Yes, I can't remember.
Of the Tokyo Joshi variety.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the event, but I think it was that's it. Yeah, good show.
Still incomplete.
To go on what we've mentioned previously.
The Makito.
It's one of them. Yeah, that was it. It's
me and Liam checked out a little wrestling from our girls in Japan, specifically Tokyo Joshi Pro. The still incomplete show where Makito faced Rika Tatsumi for the Princess of Princess titles, as well as the Max Hart tournament winners. Let me see if I can say their full tag team name, which is Niobe Shikigun, which is Mei Saint Michelle, aka Mei Saruga, and Saki-sama, aka Saki Akai from DDT fame. And they were up against the Bakaretsu sisters for the titles. Yeah, they were the two standout matches of the night. Liam, do you remember anything from it, or were you just all blended into one Joshi blur of frills and cat girls for you?
Yes, I don't remember much of the show other than the fact that it just flew by, which obviously shows it was a good event.
Yeah.
It's a really fun event. Yeah. I'd like to, speaking of like Japanese wrestling, especially women's wrestling as well, I still want to try to get in / and start watching Stardom on a regular, because I hear nothing but good things, and a lot of really talented wrestlers have obviously come from Stardom, so I do want to start watching that as well.
You guys are breaking my heart tonight. Like, I'm like, Jack, watch Spring Break, and Jack's like, oh, watch Stand and Deliver from the same weekend. I'm like, oh, Liam, watch TJPW. I really like to get into Stardom. Like,
can you not like both?
I'll just go fist myself, I guess. No, but like you can't like both, or you can, but like you can't like when I'm like, oh, get into this. You're like, I wonder what the alternative's like. It's not really good optics for me, to be honest. Yeah, there was also the International Princess title match between Yuki Kamifuku against Nao Kakuta. I don't know if I can pronounce the name very well, but yeah, I think Yuki's a bit overrated. Her English is very good, which I think is why she gets pushed. Anyway, yeah, really good match. I suppose we'll just cut for time and talk about the main event. The tag team titles did change hands, by the way. So May Saint Michelle and Saki Sama are your Princess tag team champions. The Princess title match, though, Maki Ito versus Rika Tatsumi. This was great. I love the storytelling in this match. They really sold Maki Ito and her iron head versus Rika Tatsumi has the diamond hip. She does the hip, like the rear view, like Naomi does, or the butt attack essentially, but they always have to say hip. And they had this kind of battle to see who had the kind of the harder body part. And it works really well. And what I really like about TJPW and DDT is they can do silly stuff, but they can make it feel really believable in a way that kind of gets me more immersed, like the Attitude Era does, than all this kind of trying to make it so realistic that it's meta, that you're kind of acknowledging wrestling's fake, like they sometimes do in AEW. I honestly kind of prefer it. Funnily enough, people are like, how can you get into blah, blah, blah? They're like, how it breaks immersion when Kota Ibushi's wrestling a blow-up sex doll, and it's like I can get into it more. I like watching any other kind of comedy and action blended show. I could get into that and believe that this sex doll is sentient. That breaks my immersion less than someone constantly reminding me wrestling's fake with the wink, wink, nudge, nudge like they sometimes do in AEW. So I'm really into TJPW and DDT at the moment, and people should check it out. They may also check out Stardom if they really want to. But check out TJPW and DDT. That just about brings us to the end of our show. It's been lovely having you again, Liam. I thought we were going to play some sort of prank on Jack, but that seems to have fallen by the wayside.
I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot all about that now. So
yeah, you never even told me what it was.
Yeah, because you didn't reply to my message. I thought you just didn't care. You were like, yeah, fuck you, Liam, and just went back to watching Japanese wrestling. So I
literally was watching Japanese wrestling when you tried to get me on board.
Of course.
I was re-watching a match I'd already seen. It was Chris Brooks versus Shunma for the DDT Extreme title at Daydream Believer. Quality match, go watch it. It's this will get you into DDT. Sorry, just quickly. So the match at the event before that, which was, I think it was Into the Fight, Shunma Katsuyama, I think his surname is, versus Mao. They had a match in a kids' room match where all the weapons had to be something you'd find in a kids' room. So they were hitting each other. They were obviously, Lego was involved, and there was a train set people were getting thrown into. They were doing party poppers into each other's mouths, and there was a baseball bat covered in Lego, and there was also the stipulation because their stable is called, their stablemates and friends, and their stable is called 37 Kamiina, and if you got to 37 pin counts, you also won, even if you didn't get the 3. So that added to the excitement. And then there's the same Extreme title match at Daydream Believer, Shunma versus Chris Brooks, was a barbed wire coffin match. You had to get your opponent into a coffin full of barbed wire. So I think that's piqued up Jack's interest. Look at that. And Chris Brooks was victorious, so he's the new DDT Extreme champion. I'll get you into it yet. I swear. Sounds good, doesn't it, Jack?
It does. Barbed wire coffin, that sounds right on my street.
It does, right up your little tight street. Don't put that in. Don't put that in.
Put it in.
Okay.
Do it.
How we ended it. Okay. Liam, how are we going to bully Jack? Sorry, not bully, prank.
Well, I'd rather not say, so I can save it for a future time I'm invited on the podcast.
Good idea. Let him live in constant fear, that's what I say.
Yes.
Like that How I Met Your Mother episode with the slaps. Or the episode.
I don't like it! Right, thank you all for joining us. Take care. I always try to do a sign-off. You've listened to this before. I always mix up. I just played a song last week. I played some Ojo's old entrance music. There is no consistency to how I sign off. So I'm just going to shirk my responsibility like JR shirks his responsibility for putting over wrestlers in favour of just shitting on the product, and let Liam sign off for me. So put you on the spot. Say something witty, Liam. Say something witty to say goodbye to everybody.
That's not going to get us cancelled.
Yeah, so do you really want to trust me with this?
Say something witty that's not going to... I'll just get you to re-record it. Say something witty that's not going to get us cancelled.
God, I really have been put on the spot here.
Look how hard it is for me every week.
So, I'm going to end this with a joke.
I'm ready.
Well, my maths teacher fell down the stairs last week while he was carrying a bunch of books about probability. I guess you could say the odds were stacked against him.